Mama's in Control, episode 300. All right, welcome back to the Mama's in Control podcast. Today I wanted to talk about social media. I've been thinking lately, since I have the time and energy intensive coming up, about how I save time and energy in my life. And I thought, what specific strategies, like if people were hanging out with me at my house, what do I do differently than maybe the average person? So I don't want to bombard you with like all of these tips and strategies, because then that's overwhelming. But today I wanted to share one specific strategy that my husband and I did that was a game changer. Are you listening? Are you listening? Awesome. Reminder before I jump in, if you're not already, I know I'm talking about social media and then I'm going to ask you to follow me on Instagram. Isn't that funny? But, when you are on Instagram, you might as well be inspired and get some good tips and strategies. So check me out at Mom is in Control on Instagram. What else do we got going up? If you are a huge avid fan of the podcast, I would so appreciate rating and reviewing the podcast. The more reviews that we get and the more rates that we get on iTunes, the more women will find us. So if you can head on over to iTunes, you can actually see it in the app. I know sometimes it's a little bit tricky, but if you just go to where you're looking at the podcast and it should say rate and review. Or if you're like, hey, Heather, I can't figure this out, you could always email us at support@heatherchauvin.com and we will send you a video on how to do that. So let's get back into this. Social media, internet, phone use. I love my phone, but actually I'm going to tell you a little secret. Some of my clients have actually started buying flip phones for emergency purposes, right? So if they're out with the kids, they have a phone with them, but they want to start utilizing, we want to get away from the smartphone. I'm getting annoyed by it. Sometimes I'm actually turning off my phone and hiding it. And the reason why I do this is because I'm just on it all the time. I could literally run my business from this phone. So I have access to everything. And even if I take those apps off, there's, it's addictive and it does crazy shit to our brain. And then we're like, hey, I can't function without going, where's my phone? Where's my phone? So last night, where were we? I went to the mall with my son quickly, which that's a whole nother story in itself. And I had to get a few things because I have, I'm hosting a retreat this weekend for my clients. And we were at the mall and I decided not to bring my phone to the mall. And I'm not kidding you. I definitely lost out on some discounts because I didn't have my phone. She's like, do you have the app for this? Do you have the app for that? Oh, you could da-da-da-da. And I thought, oh my gosh, it's so intertwined in culture, right? You guys wouldn't even be able to listen to me without smartphones, right? It just blows my mind. My whole business and survival is because of the internet. But there needs to be balance. There needs to be alignment. There needs to be integration. There needs to be how do I want to feel in my life? And I'm all for listening to a podcast and cleaning and, going for a run and whatever. What I'm not for is lying in your bed, binging for an hour, just scrolling on Facebook. As long as you're using technology to be life enhancing, right? But sometimes we do need to have this detox time. Excuse me. So last night we come back from the mall and I'm sitting there and I'm like, what are we going to do, right? The one kid is like, I want to watch TV. The other one's like, I want to use the computer. Are you ready for this? And I'm like, no, we're not. We can listen to music and we're going to play a board game. We're going to sit at this kitchen table together. I'll make some popcorn and we're just going to be. The sad part is my brain went to, should I Instagram about this? I don't like Instagramming. I use stories once in a while, but I don't want to be following my children around. I actually don't use my kids a lot in my stories. You probably don't even see a lot of identifying features of them. And I made a conscious choice not to have them as part of my brand, just because of informed consent, right? My oldest definitely doesn't want me definitely doesn't want me putting him on Instagram because his friends follow me and, he's older. But the other two, they don't know that yet. And I just think in this day and age, we need to be very mindful of exactly what we are putting of our children online. And that's just a conscious choice that I've made, is not to have them as part of my brand. And I've questioned that too, because I see a lot of mom bloggers and people in this space who use their children as their brand, considering my brand is called Mom is in Control. But part of that is I just don't want them a part of my brand. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, should I take a picture of the board? Should I do this? I'm like, Heather, this is ridiculous. This is why we need to disconnect. So this is the app that we use. We actually bought about, let's say 6 months ago, we had to get a new internet provider in the house. We had to buy our own internet router. And I know, I am not a tech guru. So if you're like, oh, Heather, that's so easy, we already knew this, fine. But if you didn't, I hope this is helpful for you. We bought a Google Wi-Fi router, and I know that this is not, I'm sure there's other routers that do this too. It was $180 from Best Buy. This is in Canada. And I'm sure you could probably buy a cheaper one, but we can disconnect it. So the beauty of that is there's an app that came with the router, and the app shows all of the active devices on internet in the home. So it might be, we use Apple TV. We actually don't have regular TV. So, excuse me. Oh my God. So if we actually take the Apple TV off, the kids have nothing to watch, right? We can turn the computers off. We can turn cell phones off. If other kids come to our house and they are on Wi-Fi, we can turn that off too. So if children, like my oldest, is having some friends over or a sleepover, something like that, and it's late, and I'm like, hey guys, time for bed, blah, 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 I can make sure all the devices are shut off. Isn't this amazing? So yesterday, I'm like, boop, 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 right? Shut that off. And, the kids, they get a little annoyed. And they're like, Mom, you're annoying. I don't like that. I'm like, well, that's just me. I just smile and nod and say, I love you anyways. So here I am, no internet on in the house, and we're just playing a board game, eating popcorn, listening to music. Well, I guess there was internet on because we had to listen to music through the internet. So my point is, this has been a game changer in our home. Now, if you listened to the last podcast and we're on the webinar, I talked about an alignment temperature that goes from 1 to 10, right? 10, you're a crazy monster. 1, you feel at peace and zen with yourself. The way culture is today, especially with the internet, is, I notice I'll get to a 3 or 4 or 5, it's creeping up, and I'm like, what do I need to do to get back there? Disconnecting is one of those, right? They always say you need to disconnect to reconnect. So I'm encouraging you to start a media-free day or hour or time frame. And the beauty of this Wi-Fi or this router that we also have is you can actually schedule it if you wanted to, that the internet in the house turns off at 5 p.m., everywhere, right? And this is why, I think this is a healthy practice. And I talk a lot about this, in the energetic time management stuff that I teach. So understand that you do have control. And some people will say to me, well, Heather, how does your teenager react? It's a mutual respect, right? I get him at the table playing with his siblings. This is about us coming together as a family and saying, this is healthy for you, right? You wouldn't feed a 10-year-old alcohol because they wanted it, right? You set those boundaries and limits. That's why there's legal drinking age. So I don't know why yet we don't have that for social media and for internet and phone use, but I can see it coming. Probably within the next decade, they will have legal age requirements on a child that can own a phone, so that we're not buying our 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds smartphones, because I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I think if you have a child that has a phone that young, you need to reevaluate why, if you're acting from a place of fear. And if not, and you're like, Heather, they walk home by themselves or whatever, and I want them to have connection with me, then buy them a flip phone. Because what's happening now is, if I as an adult am experiencing these side effects of, the work that I do, if I didn't own the business that I own, I probably wouldn't be on social media. I can see it, I can feel it, how my mind is becoming this addictive pattern. And also this immediate response, right? People text you, you don't reply back right away, and then they get mad and blah, blah, blah. And it's we're in a constant, instant reaction culture. And because of that, we're overreacting our nervous systems. Our systems are on fight or flight. And when we are on fight or flight, our anxiety is going to heighten, and that's just going to cause chaos in the home. So if I am experiencing this and I'm a conscious individual who works on this shit on a daily basis, then imagine what a child feels like who cannot self-regulate yet, or a teenager who doesn't want to self-regulate, or a child who is experiencing some turmoil at home and just loves to numb out because they don't know how to deal with their big emotions. This I see as a big problem. Another thing is we have no video games in the house. So we have one communal computer where the children can use it for maybe 20 minutes and play a game or something like that. We don't have any video game consoles in the house. Of course, there's been resistance to this. And once in a while, a child will come over, one of my children's friends, and bring a video game console, and it just utter chaos happens. So, and a lot of times I ask my kids, why don't you go play with so-and-so? Why don't you go play with so-and-so? And they say, they're just playing video games all the time. They're not fun to play with. Or I'm just sitting there watching them. I don't want to do that. So, and I hear from a lot of parents saying, how do I get my kid off video games? How do I get my kid off video games? Remember, it's an addiction. And you're going to have to hold some really strong boundaries there. And, maybe the Google Wi-Fi is a great boundary protector because, or some type of other router that has an app where you can turn it off from your phone. The reason why I say this is because even though I have boundaries, and if I say you can't watch TV right now, and then I'm off doing something else, and then I come back, I'm like, why is the TV turned on again? I think we need to start creating these healthy boundaries with our children. So that is my message to you today is it's very, very important to hold these social media boundaries with our children and with ourselves. And the first thing that we did, or the game changer for us, has been having a router where we can turn off the Wi-Fi. And because of that, we're creating more family time, creating more boundaries. And I'm also doing it with myself and noticing that, I'll chronically be like, oh, I'm going to check my phone. I'm going to do this. And then I'm like, oh crap. Yeah. The internet's off. So it's reiterating the brain, it's creating those boundaries and allowing your body to create some ease. Now, what does this have to do with anything that I teach? This is all about energy management, right? How do you want to feel in your life? We have to start looking at all aspects of our life. We have to look at how we show up as a family, how we show up as a unit, how we show up personally. When you find yourself in this trap saying, I don't have time, I don't have the energy, I'm just so overwhelmed, I can't figure this out. It's these little subtle shifts. It's things like this where you're creating boundaries that help you get in alignment with how you want to feel and create a kick-ass life. Okay? Create a kick-ass life, meaning you can create whatever you want in your life. You can make a huge impact. You can, do whatever you want. You could travel the world. You can donate thousands, millions of dollars building a foundation. You can be the most amazing stay-at-home mom. You can be the best CEO. You can be whoever you want to be. But the point is, you can't get there until you start looking at your shit. So this is the reason why I created the energy, or the time and energy intensive. So this is a 4-month program where I'm creating the actual space for you to do the work. So once you register, you can head on over to heatherchauvin.com/intensive. Once you register, actually, no, you have to apply first. Once you apply, then I personally read and respond, and I will send you a link to register. The application gives me great insight to where you are, and I can also let you know if this program is a right fit for you. So once you're on the inside, then you're going to start with my pre-work, which is all about helping you get super clear on the life that you want to be living. And then on November 9th, and we have 3 different days, November 9th, November 29th, and then we have one in January, where you're going to come, we're going to hang out for 4 hours live on Zoom with an intimate group of people. And when we're in this Zoom time together, we're actually doing the work. So I'm going to show you my energetic time management process. Not only am I going to show you the process, there's going to be hot seat coaching. There's going to be Q&A, and we're going to dive deeper into that mindset stuff where you're like, I just can't see it, Heather. I don't understand this. I can't get out of this. And then you're going to leave that call with a plan of action to execute. Once you're out of that phase, then you have the community and accountability and support to make magic happen. So I've made this program very affordable for you for all the value and time that you're getting with me. It's $397 times 4, and all you have to do is head on over to heatherchauvin.com and fill out the application. heatherchauvin.com/intensive and fill out the application. If your application comes in before November 1st at midnight, so that is this Thursday, so 2 more days, you have the opportunity to get $200 off if paid in full. All right, guys, I know you got this. It's all about the little subtle shifts. So what are you going to do today to take back control of the life you truly want to be living?